It was supposed to be the best night of my life. My 18th birthday, the one everyone says you'll always remember, and they were right. I'll never forget it, but not for the reasons I hoped. The party started out normal. Balloons, streamers, music blasting too loud from the cheap Bluetooth speaker in the corner. Friends crowded the living room. Laughter, plastic cups filled with soda and cheap beer. That sweet, chaotic noise of teenagers pretending to be adults. I should have been happy. I should have been smiling, but something felt wrong. It was small at first. A cold draft that moved across the room, though the windows were shut. A flicker in the kitchen light, even though the bulb was brand new. A shadow moving where nobody stood. I ignored it. I forced a smile. I told myself it was nothing. Then the doorbell rang. Everyone turned. No one had ordered food. No one expected more guests. I walked to the door, hand shaking slightly, and when I opened it, nothing. Just the dark porch, the empty street, but there was a box. A gift-wrapped box, sitting neatly on the doorstep. I hesitated, but the laughter behind me pushed me forward. Everyone wanted to see. Everyone shouted, "Open it, open it," so I carried it inside. Placed it on the table. The room fell quiet. The box wasn't normal. It was old, covered in a faded, peeling wrapping paper that looked decades old, the kind with tiny blue flowers. Yellowed tape barely holding it together. My stomach sank. Something about it felt wrong, but I pulled the ribbon. I tore the paper. I lifted the lid. Inside was another box, smaller, wrapped the same way, the paper brittle, the tape yellow. Laughter rose again. Someone shouted, "It's one of those prank boxes." So I opened it, and inside was another, smaller still, and another, until finally I reached the last one. It was tiny, small enough to fit in my hand, wrapped in the same faded paper, but heavier. Much heavier than it should have been. The room had grown quiet, the kind of silence that isn't normal for a party. Even the music seemed softer. I peeled the last layer of paper, and I found a small wooden box, carved, old, the kind of thing you'd expect to see in an antique shop. There was no lock, no latch, just a sliding lid. I held my breath, and I opened it. Inside was a Polaroid photo of me, not me smiling, not me holding the box. Not me at the party. No, it was me sleeping. In my bed, in my room, taken from the corner near my closet. The photo was recent. I could tell by the pajamas. The blanket I'd just used last night. My chest tightened. My hands went numb. Someone had been in my room? Someone had stood over me, watching, waiting, taking pictures. The room erupted. Nervous laughter. Uneasy jokes. But my best friend saw my face. She whispered, "This isn't funny," and then the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the house. A scream, a crash of glass. Shuffling footsteps all around. I couldn't see. I couldn't move. Then, through the dark, a flash. The sharp white light of a Polaroid camera. Click, whir, the sound of a photo sliding out. Someone was here? Someone was taking pictures? The lights flickered back on. Half the guests were gone. The front door stood open. A cold breeze swept in, but no one had left, not willingly. The ones missing their phones, their bags, their jackets still lay scattered around the room. They were just gone. The police were called. They searched. They questioned. But they never found those missing kids. And the box? Gone too. No one saw who took it. No one saw when it disappeared. But the Polaroid of me remained. And later that night, when I finally made it back home, another Polaroid was waiting on my bed. This one wasn't of me sleeping. It wasn't of me at the party. It was me standing in the doorway, holding the photo from the box, taken from just a few feet away. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep for weeks, and sometimes, when I close my eyes, I swear I can still hear it, the sound, the click, the whir of that camera. In the dark,
when I turned 10, my parents hired a clown. I hated clowns. Everyone knew it. But my mom thought it would be funny. She said, "You'll laugh, I promise." I didn't laugh. I didn't smile. And that day was the last time I ever celebrated a birthday with friends. The clown arrived late, almost dark outside. Not the colorful kind you'd expect. No bright rainbow wig, no silly oversized shoes. Instead, he wore black. A faded, stained black suit. White paint cracked across his face. His smile, too wide, paint smeared unevenly as though rushed. The kids whispered. Some giggled nervously, but I couldn't look away. Something about him was wrong. He didn't speak, not once. Just moved. Slow, deliberate movements, like every step was part of some act only he understood. He handed out balloons, red ones, all red. Each kid got one, but not me. When he reached me, he stopped, and he tilted his head, as if studying me, as if memorizing my face. Then, he walked away. The game started. Pin the tail, musical chairs, but the clown didn't run them. He just stood in the corner, watching, holding his own balloon, a single red balloon, its string twisted tight in his pale hand. My dad whispered to my mom. I could hear the edge in his voice. "This isn't the clown I booked." My mom laughed it off, said maybe the agency sent someone different. But my dad wasn't convinced. Neither was I. Cake time came, candles lit, everyone sang. The clown stood right behind me, so close I could feel his breath on my neck. I blew out the candles quickly, pretending not to notice, pretending I wasn't shaking. When I opened my eyes, the clown was gone, but the balloon he carried was tied to the back of my chair. The rest of the night blurred. Parents arrived, kids left with goodie bags, the house emptied. By midnight, it was just me and my parents, cleaning up, throwing away paper plates, popping leftover balloons. One balloon, though, remained. The red one. The one tied to my chair. I begged my dad to pop it, to throw it away. He laughed, rolled his eyes, and grabbed a fork. But before he could touch it, the balloon popped on its own, loud, sharp. The sound echoed through the house. And inside was a Polaroid photo. Not of me this time, but of my bedroom, taken just hours before the party. My window open, curtains pushed aside, my bed empty. We called the agency the next morning. They swore no clown had been sent. Not in black. Not like that. No one knew who he was. No one could explain how he got in. That night I locked my window, closed my blinds, double-checked the doors. But sometime past midnight, I woke up. There was a balloon floating above my bed, red, drifting gently in the dark, and written across it in smeared black paint, "Happy Birthday." I screamed. My parents rushed in. The balloon was gone, the room was empty, but on my pillow was another Polaroid. This time, it was me, asleep, taken from the edge of my bed, and standing in the corner of the photo, barely visible, was the clown, watching, smiling. I never saw him again, not in person, not at another party. But every year on my birthday, a red balloon appears, sometimes in the yard, sometimes on the porch, sometimes inside my locked room, and sometimes, if I stare too long, I swear I can see him in the distance, standing still, head tilted, holding another balloon, waiting.
Birthdays were never a big deal for me. A cake, a few candles, that was enough. But my 21st was different. I didn't plan a party, didn't invite anyone. I just stayed home, alone. Or at least, I thought I was alone. The storm started early that night. Rain pounded the roof. Thunder cracked the sky open. The power flickered, then died completely. The house sank into silence. Only the steady drum of rain. Only the rattling of wind against the windows. I lit the candles on the cake my mom had dropped off earlier. A small chocolate cake. 21 candles, their flames swaying in the dark. I sat at the table, alone, the storm roaring outside, and I thought, maybe I'd make a wish. That's when I heard it, a whisper, faint, just behind me. Blow them out. My heart stopped. I froze. The storm howled louder, covering everything. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe the wind was playing tricks. But then, I heard it again. Blow them out. One by one. I turned. No one there. Just the dark kitchen. Shadows stretching across the walls. I grabbed my phone. Dead. No service. The candles hissed softly, wax dripping down the cake. The smell of smoke filled the room. I stood, ready to snuff them out all at once. But then, I noticed something. The candles weren't just flickering. They were moving, tilting, toward the hallway, as if the flames were pointing me somewhere. Every instinct screamed to stay put, but I couldn't. I picked up the cake, followed the glow of the flames, each step deeper into the hallway, each candle swaying toward the back room, my bedroom. I stopped at the door. The wood felt cold, the knob colder still. I pushed it open, and the candle flames bent forward, illuminating the room. On my bed was a box, not wrapped, not new, just an old wooden box, scratched, dark, like it had been waiting there for years. I placed the cake down. My hands shook. Wax spilled across the table. The whisper came again. Open it. I didn't want to, but I couldn't stop myself. I slid the lid back, and inside was a candle. One single black candle, unlit, its wax cracked, its wick frayed. Beside it, a matchbook. The front read, "For your last birthday." My chest tightened. I backed away. But as I did, every candle on the cake snuffed out. One by one by one, until only darkness remained. The matchbook fell from the box, landed at my feet. One match slid out. I picked it up, hands trembling, struck it. The flame hissed to life. Dim orange light danced across the room, and without thinking, I touched it to the black candle. The flame roared, much too big for such a small wick. Black smoke curled upward, clinging to the ceiling. The air grew thick, heavy. And then, I wasn't alone. Figures, dozens of them. Shadows pressed into the corners, standing, watching. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dark, empty, hungry. The whisper returned, but this time, louder. Dozens of voices, all around me. One more wish, one more candle, one more year. My knees gave out. I dropped to the floor. The shadows crept closer, closer. I screamed. The storm swallowed it. The shadows reached out. And then, everything went black. When I woke, the storm was gone. The sun spilled through the window. The cake sat on the table, the candles still unlit. For a moment, I thought it had been a dream, a nightmare brought on by loneliness. But on the table, next to the cake, was the black candle, burnt halfway down, smoke still rising from its wick, and beside it, a new matchbook. The front read, "For your 22nd."